In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to do subsetting with the advanced filter function in Excel. So what I have in front of us is the Titanic passenger data. I've gone ahead and added the two columns or attributes that we had worked on before. And the first one would be that we had added was the title categories. You may remember that video. If not, you can go back and take a look at it and see how we developed this formula. The second one is the age bins. And again, you may remember that. If not, you can go back and take a look at how we built that formula. So what we're going to do in this video is do some subsetting. Now, subsetting is simply extracting certain records that all meet some criteria that you set. And so we could select a criteria. So for example, we might say all female passengers that are in the age range of 20 and 29 who survived. And we could certainly do a count on that. So we could say something like equals count if S, and we could select the survived, and that would be 1, meaning they survived, and then we could select the sex and quotation mark female and in the quote, and then we could select our age bin and again quotation mark. We put quotation marks around strings or text, and I could hit enter, and I could see that, well, 67 females in the age range of 20 to 29 survived. But that's really it. I can't do much more with that. So let's take a look at another way, which is subsetting. So we want to extract those records that meet that criteria. So what we're going to do is simply copy the headings. This is the best and safest way to do this. So let's copy the headings over to, let's start with M here. Okay, so we have the settings there. I'm going to narrow up these, all of these rows so that we can see things. So I'm just right-clicking and saying column width, and let's set it toward, let's pick 5 maybe just to get them narrower here. Okay, so what the advanced filter allows us to do is to enter criteria in here right below the heading. So I want to know the survived, I want to know the sex female, and I want to know the age bin of 20 to 29. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over and select the data tab, which I have up here, and then the advanced filter. So the advanced filter comes up. Now, I've previously done this, so normally it's not going to show anything in the list range. So a couple things to pay attention to. The default is filter the list in place, and I don't really ever want to do that. I guess you could, but I prefer to always copy to a new location, and then I can manipulate it, and I always have my original data I can go back to. So my list range, oh, actually, the reason this was populated is not because I had done this previously. I had done this previously and working up to this demonstration. But the reason this was populated is because I was in this set of data. So notice what Excel does for me. It assumes that I want to extract from that. So if I want to extract from this set of data, which I do, I can use this feature of Excel to simply click inside of this, select the advanced feature, and then it automatically selects my list range, which is great. That's an easy way to do it. So copy to another location, I have to eventually say the copy to location. So we're just going to copy it starting at M6. That's really all I have to do is put the starting location. But I do need to select my criteria range, and that's what we had built over here before. So I'm going to scroll over here and select all of that criteria range. I don't really need all of it. I could stop with the age bins, but I'll go ahead and continue it out. And notice it put the name of this worksheet in here. It doesn't have to have it, but it does put it there by default. You can leave it there or take it out. Unique records only, you would want to check this if there's a possibility of duplicate records, which there's not in this case. So I'm going to say OK. And as soon as I say OK, it populates this data. So it extracts the data, and we can scroll through this. It's a much smaller subset of what we were working with, and we can see that it's all survived, all females, and all in this 20 to 29 category. Now, I can do some exploratory analysis on this, and this will give you an example of the type of thing. Hard to type and talk at the same time. The type of thing that we can do once we subset the data. So certainly we can do the count, and that's equal, let's, oops, let me get out of this. I wanted to narrow this up just to get that a little closer there. Okay, so equals count. Now all I have to do is a count of this. So I'll just select the first column and do a count of that, and notice I get the same 67 that I had before. So that's really the same. But what about title? So we have 3 titles here, or the possibility of 3 titles, unless, yeah, so Mrs., Miss, and other. And let's just indent that so that it shows that that's under title there. So I can do a count if. So I want to count the range if this, all of that is equal to X9. So X9, yes, that was the correct one. So there are 25 misses, and I'm going to set my rows to absolute rather than relative so that I can drag that down, and I can see that there were 38 miss and 4 others. That 4 other is kind of interesting here. I wonder what other titles ladies would have at that time. Now, we don't have that information in our subset. Oh, actually we do. I take that back because we're grabbing all the rows in that. And so it's pretty easy to go down here. It's a fairly small set, and we can go down to other, and we see this MME. Madame, maybe? I'm not really familiar with titles, but I would guess at that. So that's one of the others. And there's a miss. A miss. Looks maybe like a Spanish name, so perhaps that was more popular in some cultures. So there you go. We have a few from the other category. Well, we can also take a look at our passenger classes. So we've got, oh, but I don't want, see, this is where Excel tries to be helpful, but I don't want it to be helpful in this case. So I want things lined up a certain way. So we have first, second, and third class. And so I could type this formula in because I'm going to do a count if again. Another way to do this is I can take this right here and simply copy it and change the row that I'm going to be looking at to the row that I want. Now, is it faster to do it this way or slower? Well, you can decide. It's M and row M. You could type that whole thing in, but you could also do it that way. And then it's, oops, I picked the wrong row. I picked the survive row, so it should show me the total. It did. So it's not M, so there you go. We got to pay attention to our mistakes. It's N, row N, 16. So it's always good to pay close attention when you're typing. Excel is like somewhat like driving a race car. You can go really fast with these calculations. You can also crash spectacularly. So now I can copy this down and look at the number of people in each class. So 16 in first, 22 in second, 23 or 29 in third class. Again, it's giving us some interesting information about this subset. So let's look at fair averages. So again, I want to do first, second, and third. But this time we've done counts, and I want to show you that even with average, there's an average if and an average if s. So I want to average if the passenger class is first, right, or second, or third. So I can select tab, and I can select my criteria. So I want to average this fare if the criteria equals, it is X17. Oops, and I've done this incorrectly, and you probably noticed that I had done this incorrectly, because I need to average this if the class that they bought is this, right? So I can go into here, and let's just take a look at the criteria that I need. Now, in the help, this can be a little confusing, and because when they say the ranges of the cells you want to evaluate, that's for the range that you want to evaluate for the criteria that you're checking. So this is the class, and the class is 17, but then I want the average range to be that the pounds, the British pounds, the fare that they paid. So this was V7 to V73. I didn't put my colon in there. So there we go. And this is British pounds. So I'm going to select the English pounds just to make sure I realize this is not dollars. So just to rehearse that, I'm gonna type it in again here rather than copying it down. Equals average if. Now the first range is the range that I want to check. So the range that I want to check is the passenger, right? And I want to check to see if that is equal to this value right here, which is X18. And the range that I want to average, now this is an optional value. If I leave it off, then it will average the first range that I picked. But the range, in this case, I have a separate range that I want to average, and so it's these fares. And I can end that out and hit enter. And again, I will change this to British pounds because we're so used to working with dollars. I'll change it to pounds. And now I'm going to change all of these to an absolute reference for my row. Well, I say all of them, but not the reference to the class, because I do want that to change. And I'm going to copy that down. 1113, 121.62. That's a big change. I mean, it doubles for the second class, which, doesn't seem like that much. But then, wow, what a huge change for first class. Now, I'm curious about what that is in dollars today. And there's a website that I've gone out to look that up. So that website is called Measuring Worth, measuringworth.com, and I've selected this conversion. It does dollars to pounds and pounds to dollars. So I've typed in here 1911. I want British pound, 1 British pound, and I want to know what that's equal to in 2019 US dollars. It defaults. Whatever you pick here, it's going to give you the other one, right? So if you pick dollars, it'll give you pounds. So I'm going to click calculate, and it tells me right here that 1 British pound in 1911 is worth $131 today. Wow, that's a lot. So $131, and let's make sure we know this is dollars. And so I want to do a conversion here. So I'm going to say equals Y17 times. Now, I know I want to copy this down, and I know I want it to remain on this cell. So this is going to be an absolute reference to both the column and the row. Oops, don't need the parentheses. And I want to convert that to dollars. Wow, that was not cheap. almost $16,000 in today's money to buy first class on the Titanic. So let's see what it cost. Third class was close to $1,500, and second class was close to $3,000. Wow, that's expensive. Can you imagine paying that for an airline ticket? Okay, so that leads me to think, wow, we had 16, let's see, we had 25 misses, 38 miss, and then 4 of the other. I wonder who was the most likely to spend the nearly $16,000 in today's dollars for that first class ticket. Well, let's do first class and title. And again, we're going to do that misses, miss, and other. And again, I'm going to just indent those so we can see that that's what we're working with. So now I'm going to have really 2 criteria. So I'm going to use an if-s because I'm looking at both the class and the title. Now I'm just going to count, but I want to count and it will give me some, it will relate to this information that I have above. So what I'm illustrating here is the amount of analysis that you can do once you subset data. You learn all kinds of interesting information about the data and begin to gain an understanding of the data. Okay, so equals count if s, and my range, my first one is the class, so I'll select all of my class, and in this case it is first class. That's what I was doing. I was trying to figure out who selected first class. So I'm going to hard code that, but we'll circle back around and change it. And by hard code that, I mean to type it in. I'm not referencing another cell, which limits my model. Anytime we're building something like this, we're really building a mathematical model. And the more flexibility we have, the better. So in this case, it's 1. And then in the title, I want to know if it is equal to my x21, okay? So only 2. Now let's change this to absolute rows so we ensure all of our data is included in all future copies of this. As I copy it down, let's copy it down. Wow, the single women were more likely by a long shot to purchase a $16,000 ticket. Sounds to me like there's a story there. Okay, well, I showed this for first class with hard coding the 1 into here, but what if we just wanted to know about class, which is much more flexible? And we might put the class over here. We would say class equals, and then we'll put a value there. So I'm going to justify that so it relates to that one. And then what I can do here, instead of hard coding that 1 into the formula, I can actually put AA20, and I want it to be an absolute reference to both column and row because I'm going to copy this down. And the answer shouldn't change, right? But what it allows me to do is it allows me to say, well, what about second class? Who was more likely? Oh, the married ladies had to fly. Yeah, they had to travel second class primarily. And then for third class, well, it looks like the single ladies, there were more in third class even than in first class. But you see the flexibility of that if you're not hard coding it, if you're actually referring to a cell location. And again, this is the idea of building a mathematical model that allows me to analyze this data. And I've done quite a bit of analysis here. And so now it's time for you to practice.